Again, I'm Arba Kumson. Now, politicians and promises. It's safe to say that the two are inextricably linked. Politicians, more than anyone, make more promises, mainly vastly unrealistic ones that they cannot inevitably keep or deliver on. That has come up strongly after research think tank Imani Ghana decided to do an assessment of some 280 promises made so far by politicians, especially flag bearers, as the country heads to the December 7th polls. At a forum in Accra Thursday, Imani Ghana said every 3 out of 4 promises made so far by the major political parties is almost empty and cannot be assessed. You would recall the NPP's promise of 1 factory per district and the CPP's proposal to cultivate almond trees for export. All those and more have come up under criticism by the organization. Take a listen.
In the past 3 years, that's 2014 to 2016, for 3 years, the average allocation. You can see that, I mean, it's half of that. So where will the money come from again? What cuts will be made in either the education sector or in other sectors in order to arrive at this point? So what other revenue, sources does the NPP want to, tap to essentially fulfill this promise? Under social policy, 3 promises, 1 semi-quantifiable, is one of the big ones that we found, and in fact there are several of them. They promise to revive the collapsed NHIS. Revive it. Revive. Okay, so again, we need to have some clarifications. Some clarification here. In what ways has the NPP found the NHIS to have collapsed? Because you are saying it has collapsed. So what have you seen? What have you identified are the challenges? And what do you mean by revival in terms of the specific steps that you want to take to ensure that indeed you resurrect it from the dead, if I should say? So what specific strategies you have, specific steps does the NPP want to take to fulfill this promise? Okay, now moving on to the final party, NDC. Again, same problem. No manifesto, didn't go to IE encounters, so we had to resort to rally transcripts, various media outlets like Daily Graphic and Peace FM, etc. So we found 20 promises, and 6 of them were quantifiable. No semi-quantifiable promise, and then 14 non-quantifiable promises were found. 1 promise for governance is that it wants to provide competent leadership.
So that's an official of Imani Ghana giving some details of their research there. But we can get further details because my colleague Raymond Aka was at that forum. He joins me in the studio now. Raymond, now we know that election years are characterized by campaign promises. But tell us, what was the rationale for the Imani Ghana research?
Yes, the understanding is that over the years, promises are made, some of them not really reasonable, but these promises are sometimes altered along the line, and that political parties get to swerve or say that we didn't even say this, or we said this on these, on that terms. So they don't get to actually actualize their promises and implement them because, 1, they make promises that are vague, promises that cannot really be measured, promises that is very difficult for the ordinary person to understand. So in the quest to do issue-based campaigning, the particular exercise is to make sure that going forward, the promises can be specifically quantified. The promises can be given deadlines and timelines so that people can follow and say, you said this, but you failed to do this at the end of the day. So to take out the element of vagueness and the element of people just promising because they want to do so, and stick them to the issues so that people can vote on these and can reflect in the kind of governance we have at the end of the day.
But there are those who argue that politicians deliberately don't put timelines on some of these promises so that they won't be checked by the electorate because they have always been found wanting.
Brilliant. It's to make sure that they can be checked now so that if you gave a vague promise, you are alerted. Then come back and give details. then we now know that it's either you don't have the promise at all, or people know that this your promise is not worth considering. So that when they are voting, they know which kind of promises they can actually hold politicians to and vote on those promises.
All right, now let's break it down. I know the MPP's one factory per district came up strongly at the forum among other promises the party has made. What has been said in respect of that?
The particular promise of one factory per district, the claim is that it's a very bold one. One, they don't know the type of factory that will be set up. So they gave some differences between the Atuabo gas plant and also the controversial Commander Sugar Factory. Is some 300 billion cedis. So watch it that way. Huge money difference. Which one are you seeking to put in a district? So that we know whether indeed our budget can even make provisions for this. And they raised one important point. They said they will help establish. Help who, how, when, and within which particular time frame. So all of these are very vague things that they want clarified, so that if the MPP in 2020 is unable to do the things when it gets into government in 2017, then we can say that you promised us factories in every district, but you failed to do 4 of them. So they don't say that we set up a corn mill. It's another factory that can be used. So those clarities that they are demanding is what's going to make it flesh out the policy.
Another issue that has come up with respect to the policy of one factory per district is the cost. Did that come up at the forum?
Yes, so they compare the cost of the Atuabo gas plant to also the Commander Sugar Factory. Which one are you seeking to give Ghanaians? Indeed, if you want to do so, because they don't know the size of the factory, estimations for cost was very difficult for anybody to do, because really they can come back and say that we're talking about some small factory. Why are you doing high level estimations when we are doing with very small things? So those things are what they want fleshed out so that they can deal with the issues proper.
Okay, now tell us about the CPP's Ivor Green Street, his proposal to cultivate almond trees, that has also come up at the forum. What are they saying about that?
So they are saying that by the proposal he has given, it will require half of Ghana's lands to cultivate.
Yes, lands.
And it will take at least 100 years to get the amount of money that Green Street says will be available.
But
so
we have heard, agricultural experts talk about the viability of this proposal.
So the difference here is that, yes, viable, but if he states that he will need 2 million youth to do this production within a period of, let's say, a year and get the 300 billion, that estimation of the amount requires half of the lands and some input that's almost like 150 million Ghana cedis on a monthly basis. Where is he going to get the money from? Who is going to pay for the upfront start of the work? And indeed, they also pointed out something. Almond cost is really going down on the international market. How would you be assured that by the time you finish this, your plant in 2017, you wouldn't be having very, very little prices for almond and becomes useless your 300 billion because you take a longer period to even actualize that. So those are the issues they are raising about this particular project, and it makes it look like, okay, so we need more. One, in terms of exactly how is he going to raise the money? Who's going to fund the initial inputs into this particular project? And where is the land going to come from? Exactly. Because we know that so much of the lands in this country are owned by families and some specific communities. Who's going to give up their land, half of the republic, for this particular act?
I see. Interesting. What about the governing party? We know that their flag bearer is in the northern region, also making promises to the electorate there. What have they been saying in respect of the NDC and the promises that it's been making?
So a total of 20 promises that the NDC made, which was actually put in this, only 6 of them were quantifiable. Quantifiable because they put some timelines to it. Right. One of which is that they will make sure that by 2017 we're having single-digit inflation. The immediate thing that the antenna of the researchers were drawn to is that, look at the trend. We are hovering around 16.7. 2 months ago, we were at 19%. It will take a lot of magic happening in this economy. And we know the trends when it comes to election year and the expenditures involved. Also, because we have crossed the second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, these are quarters that inflations mostly go high because of the expenditure ranges within the end. It will be a lot of magic for that to happen, especially when we've not been able to do so for a very long time, from 2013 up until this particular time. So that is, of course, quantifiable, but it's too ambitious that if anybody wants to make a determined voter decision, it will be difficult for the person to decide that I'll vote for you because of this particular policy, because it looks quite outrageous. Another point they made was that they'll provide competent leadership. what will be the competent gradation? How would I be able to determine that you are competent? And in any case, if you are competent, how does it result in the most important thing Ghanaians want to see? Economic development, social services provision, and all of that. So when you say competent leadership, how is it going to be judged?
All right. I'm sure that the political parties will have their say and react to, you know, these the assessment by the research think tank. But thank you very much, Raymond. You're watching Election Brief. Now, speaking of promises, flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Mahama, has been speaking of plans to create farmer service centers to support farmers improve their farming. The president has also been assuring residents of the northern region of plans to establish an irrigation dam for the dry season to, among others, help create jobs. President Mahama gave these assurances as he wrapped up his four-day tour of the northern region. We can get details from our correspondent Hashmin Mohammed, who joins us on the line. Good afternoon to you, Hashmin.
Good afternoon.
Now, bring us up to speed on what the president is doing today as he wraps up his tour of the region.
Well, the president will be touring 4 constituencies in the northern region today. He has already been to the Saboba constituency, where he addressed electorates there. He promised to establish farmers' service centers to help farmers improve on their farming. And he has also assured the residents of Saboba that if given the nod in his second tenure in office, he intends to establish irrigation systems to help them go about dry season farming. And then the one particular issue that has been of concern to the residents there has been getting a bridge over the river Oti so that they can be able to cross over to Togo. And the president has promised that work on that. His government is in the process of securing a loan facility to work on that project, and all this will come when he is given the nod to lead again in his second tenure in office. But right now, though, the president is in Cherponi to address a similar rally.
All right. Hold on for me, Hashmin, because as you indicated, the president has promised to establish a farmer center in the region. Let's listen to him and we can go back to you.
Under NDC's government. But as we are waiting for the farmer service centers, we have brought agricultural tractors. You know that occasionally we bring tractors and we sell them to farmers. We brought 500 agricultural tractors. Very good tractors, Massey Ferguson, New Holland, all the best brand of tractors. Now what government has done is, government is subsidizing the price of the tractors by 50%. So government is taking half of the cost of the tractor and the farmer will pay only half of the cost. Government is taking 50% of the cost of the tractor. And so anybody who comes to buy the tractor will pay only 50% of the price of the tractor. And you have the tractor. You can do your farm, you can hire out the tractor to other farmers to plow their fields for them and be able to retrieve the cost of your tractor. But I want to encourage our farmers to try and enter into cooperatives. One farmer might have 1,000 cedis, another one might have 800 cedis, another will have 500, another has this amount. If 20 of you come together and you put your money together, you can buy one tractor, you register it in your names, you plow your field. When you finish, you go and plow for other people. In 2 years, you would have paid the cost of this tractor. So instead of us being individualistic farmers, everybody wants to be on his own. If we come together, we are stronger and we'll be able to do things better. They say that a broom, if you take one broomstick, you will break it. But if you put the broomsticks together, can you break it? You can't. And that's why we must come together in cooperatives. If we have 20 farmers coming together, you can give it any name. Saboba Farmers Cooperative. You go and register it. Everybody has his shares. Everybody brings his share of the money. We're going to buy a tractor. You buy the tractor. Everybody who has a share is an... to Ken. Deputy Chief of Staff, we know the Oti River is close by, and I have asked the Irrigation Development Authority to come and do a feasibility study to do an agricultural...
So that's President Mahama there addressing residents of Saboba earlier, talking about the farmers' centers. Hashmin is still on the line with us. Tell us, Hashmin, how residents have been reacting to this promise of, providing farmers' centers to them. Hello, Hashmin.
Hello?
All right. Go ahead.
The residents have been expressing joy over these promises. And a while ago, before we left there, I spoke to some of the residents who say if the president is able to do two issues, it will help address of their problems there, because dry season farming has always been a challenge there, even though a chunk of food comes from that particular area.
All right, and Hashmin, the president wraps up his tour of the northern region today. Generally, what has been the response as he sought the vote of the people in the northern region? What have they been saying generally?
Generally, three issues continue to dominate the campaign. The residents or the electors want the president to address their road network. The residents want the president to work on water expansion, because access to water, according to some of the residents, is a big challenge. And then electricity supplies to their homes. Those are some of the major issues that many of the electors want the president to do. But the president is saying that he has already laid the foundation, and in his second tenure in office, all those issues will be fixed.
All right, many thanks. That's our Northern Regional Correspondent, Hashmin Mohammed there. Well, speaking of the NDC, the Greater Accra Regional Branch of the party is today inaugurating the 2016 campaign team for the region. But why is that necessary? We can get details from Joy News' Ernest Menu, who joins us on the line. Hello, Ernest.
Yes, good afternoon.
Okay, so what do the regional executives seek to do by putting together this regional campaign team?
If you can come again, please.
I'm asking, what will be the mandate of the regional campaign team?
Yes, so the mandate of the regional campaign team will be to coordinate the activities of the region at the constituency and district level, just to ensure that the party wins the election in the region. They have a target of increasing the vote from the previous election, 2012 election, as well as increasing the number of seats they won in the region. And so basically, what they are going to do is to coordinate the activities of the various constituencies in the region and make sure that they give the nod to, they ensure a victory for the president in the region and also at the end of the election in this year.
We understand that the Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the party, Ade Koka, has been speaking. What has he been telling the party supporters there?
Yes, so he was addressing the party supporters earlier. That was his welcome address to the party. And for him, it was his hope that at the end of the day, party supporters who are here today and even those who would later will receive the message will be energized to contribute significantly to making sure that the NDC wins the Greater Accra region and that they actually achieve their target of increasing the votes and increasing the number of seats for the party. And so, according to him, the party has done so well that they need to trumpet their successes in order to convince the people of the Greater Accra region to give them the nod this year as well, Araba.
Quick one. Are there specific seats that they are targeting this year, which they may have lost last 4 years?
Well, that has not come up yet, but we do know that last year the regional executive said that they were targeting 28 seats in the region. Currently, they occupy only 20 of the seats in Greater Accra. But today, the campaign coordinator, who is Sylvester Mensah, did say that the party wants to just capture 23 seats for the minimum and 25 for maximum. And so they are looking at a minimum of 23 from the original 20, which they occupy right now, to 25, which would be the maximum for the party. They haven't mentioned specific seats that they will be targeting, as well as specific strategies that they will adapt in making sure that they capture some of the seats.
Very much. That's Joy News correspondent Ernest Meno. You're watching Election Brief. Let's stay on the campaign trail, and this time with the Progressive People's Party, because the party's running mate, Bridget Jogmenuku, is heading to the Eastern region to seek votes for the party. We can speak to Belinda Bule, who is a spokesperson for Miss Jogmenuku. She joins us on the line. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
All right. I understand that Madam Bridget Jogmenuku is campaigning on her own. Oftentimes we see her alongside Dr. Papakwesi Indum on the campaign trail. What informed your decision to, as it were, throw her to the wolves this time round?
Well, thank you very much, Araba. But we haven't thrown her out there. What's happening is the party has decided to have different campaign teams. Now, there will be on some occasions, you're going to see Dr. Endo with Madame Bridget campaigning together. But then we've divided the country, and she herself is going to go on a nationwide tour. Officer will do the same thing, so as the party machinery. So that's really what the strategy is about, to make sure that we're able to cover all the ground, give ourselves adequate time to make sure that we touch base with almost every electorate, or almost all the electorate everywhere, and then have the deeper impact. So that's really what the whole strategy is about, to make sure that we go out there and at every point in time, you have something, you feel the presence of DPP at various constituencies.
Now, we know that, she's fairly new to the game, and I'm talking about, campaigning. So how has it been for her going out on her own this time round?
Well, you see, the thing is, yes, maybe the political landscape is new, but then she's intelligent and she's hardworking. And so you'd be impressed with what has already gone on. Within just about a day or two, she's actually, taking the bull by the horn and she's leading the campaign. I must be honest with you. It's been great. The response has been great. We went to Volta region. We started from Volta region on Monday. As I'm speaking to you now, we are the Eastern region. And everywhere we go to, she's been accepted. The message has been clear. And, it's also because the reason it was easier for us to say, okay, she should go out there, it's because we know her capabilities. What actually attracted us to her or her to us is because of her intelligence, you understand me, and what she can do. So, yes, campaigning political may be new, but the whole concept of talking to people, getting the message out there, working on principles is something which is very familiar with me.
And speaking about talking to people, what is she preaching to the people? What's she telling the people?
Well, the message of the PPP has been very consistent. Okay, we have been talking about job creation. We have been talking about good healthcare system. We have been talking about education, the implementation of FQ. We have been talking about giving power back to the people. So she's been addressing that. But most importantly, there is this funny notion that if you vote for PPP, you have wasted your vote. Nobody has said that PPP is a bad party. Nobody has said we can't do the job. Nobody has said that we don't have the best policies. It's been, you are going to waste your vote. So this is really addressing that. And I'm going to tell you that the electors are getting to understand it, and they know that a vote for PPP is not a wasted vote. You actually waste your vote if you vote for somebody who comes into power and the person who does not come and do anything for you, brings you on, lots of jobs, and power problems, and high economic or hard economic conditions. That's the wasted vote. And she's been stressing that to almost all the electorate, and they've been getting it. And I believe that comes to December 7th, you're going to see the effect.
All right. Thank you very much. That's Belinda Bule of the Progressive People's Party talking about the party's running mate, hitting the campaign trail in the eastern region. And on that note, we wrap up Election Brief. Thanks for watching. I'm Araba Kumson.